Hello, you're about to hear Good Morning Seminole, our monthly signature event. Please enjoy.
Today we're talking about how energy and the economy work together. Let me just give you a couple of stats that you may or may not know. Let me pull it up on my phone real quick. ExxonMobil just did a report on energy consumption by the year 2050. And you think, anybody know how much electricity demand is going to grow in the next 25 years? Wow, who said that? Bullseye. 80% will grow worldwide. Energy demand worldwide will grow 80% over the next 25. The use of solar and wind power is going to grow fourfold over the next 25 years. All right, fantastic. We are good to go today. And then, and if we don't think that it's already here, if you didn't know, I work with a group called Chambers for Innovation and Clean Energy, and we just did a Florida jobs report where more than 175,000 jobs in Florida are in the clean energy sector, with 10,000 jobs added in the last year. So with that in the background, let me go ahead and introduce our panel. We're just going to do a first name, or a name and a title, company introduction. So first, Sharon Arroyo with Duke Energy. Come on up. Chris Cucci with Climate First Bank. Ben Pauluhn with Optimus Energy Solutions. Kristine Richmond with WM, formerly Waste Management. And Bryan, I forgot to get the pronunciation of your last name, but Bryan with the Central Florida Expressway Authority. How do you pronounce it real quick? Homayouni. There we go. So, all right, we are ready to start. Let me pull up my questions right now. So first, let's make sure everybody understands why you are here on this panel today. How about a quick 1 minute from each of you on how you and your company are involved in sustainability and the energy in all sorts of realms. Bryan, let's start with you.
Is my mic working? All right, good. Good start. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Let me start with a brief introduction to the Central Florida Expressway Authority. So CFX is an agency of the state, not the Department of Transportation, but we consider ourselves a sister agency to that public agency. We own and operate 125 centerline miles of tolled expressways in the Central Florida region. With that, we have a 5-county jurisdiction, and it includes Brevard, Osceola, Lake, Orange, and Seminole counties. And so we build and maintain roads within that regional footprint. We do answer to a board of directors. We don't answer straight through the legislative, so the board of directors is what gives us our direction and our mission moving forward. That board of directors is primarily comprised of elected officials. So we have elected officials from each of the 5 representative counties, as well as the city of Orlando mayor and the mayor of Orange County, and as well as 3 governor appointees. So they give us our directive, and what that does is it really establishes, we've got a very intertwined or enmeshed agency with our local community, right? And that's what that really establishes there.
I'm about to call the 1 minute.
All right, got it.
Sorry.
My name is Bryan. I work in intelligent transportation. I support the sustainability program there. Thank you.
There you go. Now, absolutely. Sorry, we got a big panel today in a short time. Kristine?
Okay, so now we know Alan can time keep, so we'll see how to. So again, Kristine Richmond, and I do lead the sustainability program at WM, formerly known Waste Management. We did rebrand and have a brand purpose of always working for a sustainable tomorrow. But I'm going to give a little background about myself of how did I end up on a sustainability panel and about an energy panel, not just where I work. Brief history for myself. I started out in frontline management at Starbucks and Apple, and then decided to go back. I didn't know that would be funny, but decided to go back to get a graduate degree at Duke to focus on business sustainability. That was a while ago. I am older than I look. So 2 decades ago, I went back and got a master's degree to really focus on business and sustainability before that was a thing. And so it is really exciting to see such a large group show up here today to talk about that. Lots of energy, so thanks for showing up for our Energized panel. One thing I want to think of and challenge you to think about sustainability of how I've always thought of it, I've always called myself an intrapreneur, so I like to work within systems. I've always worked within large corporations, but you can also think of your entrepreneur spirit can help to change systems as well. And that gets me to the second piece of what I think is really important about sustainability is definitely around how do we think about it holistically and not myopically on one piece or another. So I think that's a really good way to kind of tee up what we're going to talk about today.
Ben?
Thanks. Fortunately for my personality, I don't have a board of directors, and so it's wonderful. We started in 2018. We're based out of Mount Dora, very active in Seminole County. We're fortunate actually to be doing projects with everyone here but Waste Management. We're in some ways traditional commercial construction company. We do commercial solar energy, electric vehicle charging infrastructure. We also own and operate our own fleet or network of electric vehicle charging stations throughout the Southeast, which is one of the things we'll be touching on in a bit.
Sharon?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us here, and thanks for inviting me, Alan. So I think everybody probably understands why Duke Energy is here, but I hope that I'll be able to enlighten the group today on why we are so focused on sustainability, and that is to meet our customers' demands for reliable, affordable, clean energy, increasingly clean energy, as we move into the future. And that will include, for us, major upgrades to our electric grid to be more efficient and to be more reliable, and to really meet the demands of our communities, especially like Seminole County, which we work hand in hand with, especially on the growing population in our state, for sure.
Fantastic. Finally, Chris.
Good morning, everyone. Chris Cucci. I'm Chief Strategy Officer for Climate First Bank. Climate First Bank is a full-service, what we call a digital community bank. We started in Florida about 4 years ago, now serving customers in all 50 states. And we do all the things that a normal community bank does, loans, deposits, mortgages, all of that, but through the lens of how do we use finance as a force for good in the market to create healthier, more sustainable communities. A lot of my work is focused around solar finance and electric vehicle charging infrastructure finance.
And one of the neat things, if you ever are driving down 1792 and you see their building, their walls are actually solar panels on the outside of it, built by Ben. So anyways, let's talk about this because so much of sustainability has been tied to climate change, which is really a controversial issue. But there really is a business reason for utilizing this sort of effort along with larger economic development issue. Ben, let's start with you. Talk about the business purposes for looking at these alternative and these sorts of technologies.
I didn't know you were starting with me.
Yeah, there you go. Congratulations. Okay. I can start with Kristine if you'd like.
No, it's good. It's good. I'll relate that to what we saw with the cancellation or I guess pullback of those NEVI EV charging funds, those federal funds that had been awarded, announced, some of them given away, some cities sitting on them, and personally I think that's the best thing that could have happened for the rollout of electric vehicle charging infrastructure. There is so much speed on distributed energy rollout. I know CFX, you guys are doing a lot of distributed stuff. On the rollout of distributed energy production, whether that be solar or many other methods, combined with the speed that we have to roll out just to complete deficiency in grid infrastructure to support this stuff, as well as the charging stations, devices, infrastructure, and the private sector, at least from our observation, what we're participatory in, is ready for that.
Kristine, what is the business purposes? And real quick, actually, tell what is distributed energy for people who may not know.
The way, I don't know the technical definition, but the way that I describe it is we have a lot of grid assets that are on one's property, on right-of-ways, et cetera, and it's adding energy production to the grid in close proximity to those assets. That's how I describe it.
Good. Kristine?
Okay, happy. Thank you, Ben. I think what's really important to keep in mind is to continue to think about your business differently. So if you take WM, and I talked a little bit of how we've rebranded and we're getting away from the waste management, not because we're not managing your waste still, not because we're not still picking it up, but we're really trying to reimagine what are we really good at and how can that help build and be our growth strategy for the future. So for us, that can include recycling. That's a big piece of what we're doing. We're also looking at organics and expanding that nationwide. But maybe a little known fact, we're a pretty large renewable energy company as well. And so we've really been doubling down on capturing landfill gas and then generating renewable electricity and also renewable natural gas. And the reason I think that's important is that we continue to evolve how we're thinking about sustainability. And that's why I think while some things may change at the federal level, they may change at the state level, you really want to go back to like, what is your business really good at and how can you continue to evolve that to be meaningful and a growth strategy for your organization, regardless of what subsidies may or may not be there. I think subsidies, as you mentioned, Ben, are a really great way for us to think about innovation and how we can accelerate some of that deployment. But ultimately, you want to continue to focus on what are your core strengths and how can you emphasize them. So regardless of what noise may be going on at the federal, state, or local level, you're going to continue to have a sustainable business model. And sustainability is financial along with the environmental and social piece of that as well.
So let's move over to Chris real quick, because you brought up the financing, you brought up the incentives that are out there. A lot of those incentives on the federal level are going away, also on the state level in the tax credits. How are businesses looking at funding these projects now? And have you seen an increase or decrease in demand for these types of projects?
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing I always, with stuff, I try not to get too worried about the incentives coming or going. It's politicians are going to politic, and that stuff we can't control. Solar for All was suspended 2 weeks ago. Solar for All was turned back on 2 days ago. There's $7 billion back in the market. So I'm trying not to worry about that stuff in the short term. It's, it's beyond our control. What I will say is this, the economic advantages extend beyond just the solar or the renewable energy incentive programs and subsidies that have been established. So if anyone's in the real estate world or in the, even in the tax world, you know about accelerated depreciation and Section 179. These are things that allow you to take advantage of write-offs much quicker on some of your capital expenditures, things you do to invest in your building or in your business. That's a key component of solar. So even without the solar tax credit, you still have these substantial economic advantages that exist that are just built into our tax system. Outside of that, the cost of solar, the quality of the technology, continues to improve. It's just like happens with any other type of technology. If you look at the viability of solar 25 years ago, it's completely different than the viability today, even 5 years ago till today. That's going to continue to improve as well, and the reason is we have an energy problem, a looming energy problem with, as you mentioned, 80% demand increase over the next 50 years?
25 years, by 2050.
25 years. So you're going to need a multi-pronged solution to this problem. We can't do it with legacy energy alone. We can't do it with wind alone or solar alone. So it's going to be all of these combined. So I think we're going to continue to see that demand. We're going to continue to see the investment in the technology that will make it more efficient, less expensive. And then in the short term, to answer your very original question, which was, what have you seen with demand lately? Well, right now we're seeing an increase because everybody wants to take advantage of those financial incentives that may be sunsetting. So they're coming to us now and saying, let's get this project done sooner rather than later and take advantage of the subsidies that exist.
Sharon, Chris hit on an interesting point that we wanted to talk about and kind of build into the broader scheme. Economic development, future economic development. We hear a lot about data centers coming. The future use of technology that's going to just overwhelm the energy demand. Why is this so critical for economic development as we go forward to diversify our grid?
Yeah, sure, thank you. And I think the theme you'll hear today is, even with investor-owned utilities, we're having to adapt to what our customers are demanding, which is cleaner energy and more efficient and affordable. And so some of the things from our perspective are, when you think of a natural gas generation plant, baseload, we do not usually, we're not going to be building any of those. In fact, we're sunsetting and retiring most of those by the year 2050 for Duke Energy. But we are implementing efficient technology at those plants that will help us use more power but with less fuel. And that translates into savings for our customers in the range of 150 to 200 million that we can pass on to our customers because we're using less fuel. And not only that, too, with our solar sites, we have been passing forward $56 million in corporate tax credits to our customers annually, which translates into a reduction of about $1.90 for 1,000 kilowatt hour usage. So things like that are the things that we're looking at when you think of an investor-owned utility.
You guys just announced a couple of interesting things in this. 4 new solar farms, 300 megawatts of power on that, and you could probably give an example of how much homes that would fit. And also a new energy storage center that can power 800 customers just from that one center. So can you talk a little bit about, I think anybody that's going to Tallahassee is going to see a lot of solar farms now as they go down I-10. So why is that such a big part of this discussion?
Yeah, sure. So thank you, Alan. And just a couple weeks ago, we announced we submitted and filed our solar base rate plan for 2025 with the Florida Public Service Commission, which announces the 4 sites that we will be working on this year in 2025. And we're investing over $521 million in 4 counties in the North Florida area, as you mentioned, which would be Jefferson County, Hamilton County, Suwannee County, and Hernando County. And Suzanne will keep me straight on that because she's working in that area. So lots of solar plants to be coming for us in this year. That will add, like you mentioned, 300 megawatts of clean, quiet, carbon-free electricity to our grid. And in addition, these sites that we currently own, operate, and maintain 25 solar sites throughout our service territory in the state of Florida. And this generates 1,500 megawatts of clean energy. So solar sites is very much a part of our plan for the future, and as well as battery storage. So in Alachua County, in the city of Micanopy, we have a battery solar site that we are actually about to it has the technology for islanding, so it would be the first one in our system that has the ability to disconnect from the grid and power a community, the businesses in the community, and residences for things like a storm, to weather through the storm. So that's the first site in our portfolio of battery storage sites that will have that islanding, but we intend to have all of our 6 current sites in our portfolio have that capability by the end of 2026.
Well, and let's talk about energy storage, and this is a little bit of a curveball for you. Ben, you're working actually with Duke Energy on putting in residential energy storage to help flatten out the demand on the grid. Can you talk a little bit about that project?
Sure. As Alan mentioned, it's a Duke Energy pilot project. I think it's energy orchestration is the program. And that's exactly what it is. It's a pilot for Duke to be gathering data on what do these distributed energy storage systems look like, how do they behave, how do they interact with our grid, either how it's acting or in times of power outage. And so this one happens to be down in the Hunters Creek area and rolling out about 100 projects together. And there's already been quite a bit of data that they've gotten. If you don't mind, just to extend that, I think Sharon made an excellent point. That's something we talk about as a company a lot, and that's fuel in versus energy out. And we cannot speak more sort of highly or aggressively, I guess, on how powerful that is in the electrification space. Even taking something like solar panels, used to be you'd need 4.5 years to recoup the energy that it took to build the panel. Now a lot of our manufacturers are down to like 1.5 years. So just on the very front end of that process, and then the electrified transport is sort of the self-evident one, just in terms of the reduction in cost, improvement in safety, improvement in efficiency versus petrol products. I think that's a big, could potentially be a big mitigator for this 80%, 100% power need increases. We are getting more efficient on the front end production, and then the usage through electric transport.
Gotcha. Well, let's talk about a little bit on the EV cars. Let's go over to Bryan. Talk about as wide scale what you guys are doing, but also first in the country to where a road will actually charge your EV as you're driving down the road, right?
All right, well, thanks,
Go ahead,
Alan.
take it over.
How much time do I got here, huh? I've got a lot to say about this now.
You're doing okay.
I mean,
so
man,
keep going.
all right. All right, thanks, Alan. So the project that he's alluding to, we have a dynamic in-lane charging project that's actually rolling out as a part of one of our larger roadway installations. So you look at us as a road building maintaining agency, how do we fit into the mold of sustainability? Well, the 516 corridor is an excellent example of that, right? And so what 516 is a brand new roadway that's being built out in the west side of the Central Florida region. So it connects US 27 to 429. It's about a 4.5 mile segment of new roadway. And about 3/4 of a mile segment of that new roadway, we're going to be putting a dynamic in-lane charging system. So there's inductive coils that are going to be installed in one of the lanes in that road in the westbound direction, which will be able to send an electromagnetic charge, basically wirelessly charge a vehicle as it's driving full speed over the roadway. Now, what I would say is that corridor in general, there's many things that are being happening as a part of that, and that really shows how we can, as an agency, lean into sustainability and preserving our ecology, right? And so one of the things that we've done is we're extending and installing wildlife corridor crossings, right? So we're being very mindful of the wildlife corridor that's out there. We're actually going to be also installing solar deployments throughout the corridor to offset 100% of all of our power usage for that roadway. So all of the lights, all the tolling, all of the infrastructure that we're installing out there is going to be powered by solar. We're also following with a Envision certification, which is going to help us as we design, develop, and build that roadway to maintain a platinum level of certification for that environmental footprint. So the dynamic in-lane charging, again, going back to that, it's a partnership with Aspire. If you all haven't heard of Aspire, I won't go too far into details there. If you haven't heard of it, I encourage you to look it up. They're a research partner based out in Utah State, funded by National Science Foundation, and they're helping to provide the academics and the intuition behind that application that we're helping to move forward here.
That's one of the things that you're seeing a lot of in this industry is innovation and new technologies that are coming forward. For instance, and let's see what the reaction is on this, the state of Florida is studying on how to best mobilize small nuclear reactors throughout the state. In addition to other things, clean hydrogen is all being technology is growing up there. What are some of the innovations and some of the things that you are seeing out there that the future of this looks like that maybe tomorrow's clean energy or energy producers? Kristine.
I'm happy to jump here because I feel really passionate about that. We also need to think about what are the technologies that are going to help us in this transition phase, like before some of the more forward-looking, innovative. And I'm actually happy to have nuclear as part of that conversation. I think that we need all solutions at the table. Instead of this being an or conversation, it needs to be an and. So if I look at like what we're doing, we're taking a gas that is going to be generated because waste has been produced. It's there. We're capturing it before it reaches the atmosphere and generating renewable electricity and renewable natural gas. It would probably surprise y'all to know how much of that we're doing. So we surpassed capturing and generating over 60 million MMBTUs of energy in the last year. So that can help power over 300,000 households. It helps to displace close to 2 million gallons of diesel. And then we're also looking at direct industrial. So I think that's an important part of how we think about how we're going to get to a lower economy is what technologies can we deploy today. And then we are continuing to look at how then that renewable natural gas can be a feedstock for hydrogen, for more clean hydrogen. We're also looking at how we can deploy EVs fit for purpose, because the truth is right now the technology isn't allowing EV to be a solution in every scenario. It might have been a great solution for us to be able to get here in this room today, but in order for our trash trucks and our recycling trucks to make it through our neighborhoods and do that efficiently, that's not a great use of that technology right now. But we're looking at how we can either leapfrog it to hydrogen or how we continue to work on better storage to be able to meet the needs of that service. So I think it's an and conversation.
Yeah, you know, one of the cool things that's coming out, FIU down in Boca Raton just got a large grant to research how to capture energy from the currents of the ocean in the Gulf Stream, under the water where we didn't even see it. Those are the sorts of things that are being out there publicized. Anybody else want to talk about innovation? Chris, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, it was kind of on the top where I was talking earlier about innovation in solar, and one of the things people ask me when I talk about that sometimes is, well, that's great, but then what happens to all those old solar panels that are obsolete now? Something that we were excited about, we financed about a year ago a startup firm in Jacksonville that is doing recycling so they're able to recycle, remanufacture, take those old panels and basically remanufacture those into the new, more modern, more efficient panels. Also along the same lines of what Kristine was talking about, biochar. So we financed a company in the biochar space not long ago who's actually taking that organic waste. It's something that comes from pigs on a farm. I don't need to go into more detail, but they're taking that and they're turning that into a usable fuel. So coming up with new innovations like that, it's something that we're really excited about. Not only is it creating, it's sustainable, it's creating a healthier community, right? But it's also creating jobs. So that group in Jacksonville, we started last year with 20 employees, are up to 40 now. They're projecting about 200 employees in the workforce in that market in the next 2 years.
Sharon?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things in the innovation space, and if you don't think an investor-owned utility is in innovation, we definitely are, as you've heard some today, but we're really excited about hydrogen and the project that we have ongoing at our DeBerry Hydrogen Station, which is in Volusia County. It's really kind of a groundbreaking, it'll be the first demonstration project in the United States that will create clean energy using an end-to-end system that produces, stores, and combusts 100% green hydrogen. So we're looking to have that project completed hopefully by the end of summer. So definitely working in a lot of different space for us and very excited about hydrogen. Hoping to partner some with UCF on that, working with Dr. Chu and that team on any options that we have for working with them in the research area too.
Fantastic. Ben?
I think the theme that I'm hearing, which my point tied into, is the efficiency gains we have through the reuse and repurposing of a lot of these things, which used to be a byproduct or a waste, or it used to be a byproduct or waste. And then in our case, I guess the relevant experience, we're building quite a number of megawatts of floating solar projects on otherwise sort of dead retention ponds. And that project excites me, number one, because it's cool. Number two, I got into this space because I really like the multiple use of assets. And in that case, the people are turning literally a liability that you now have to spray less, have to maintain less, into an income-producing asset that also happens to be extremely economically viable. And I think that's a big thing for me, is every one of the projects that either we're bringing to market or partnering with others. I mean, the returns on this are objectively very motivating. And so that, coupled with these efficiency gains, I see a lot of promise in.
And one of the ones that you can talk about just real quickly is DOT retention ponds. Just, that are just sitting there now they're creating electricity. Can you talk to us a little bit about those projects?
Yeah, for sure. I know Bryan and the CFX team are doing quite a number, but there's one down just north of Orlando International Airport. It's an FDOT pond. Just, nobody's looked at it. It's surrounded by oak trees, and pretty soon you're going to have 2 megawatts of electricity producing assets right there next to where transformers already exist. And so the promise of that, it's literally a dead nothing that now has life for future. Go ahead, Bryan.
Yeah, right. I'll add to that, Alan. Yeah, so just piggybacking on what Ben's saying, right? So as a roadway agency, we have lots of land throughout our system, right? We have areas where we could easily install solar fields, but what that does is it takes that land and it prevents us from using it for roadway expansion. It prevents us from selling it as an asset or whatever else. It devalues the property. As Ben mentioned, we have retention ponds throughout our system. These are required. We need these for drainage purposes. They have to be there. They provide a useful function, but we can double up on that function by adding those solar panels out on those locations. So we've got one actual active floating solar site right now out in our system, and we're in the process of adding 2 more as we speak to support our toll plaza facilities out on our roadway. So it's as Ben mentioned, a very useful business case for us as an agency.
I might try and get a couple of questions in after this one. So I think we got time for. Yeah. No. I got one more question, then we might ask if anybody has anything. And this is for everybody. What can these guys do and bring into their own kind of in their world that's kind of small and easy to help meet this demand of the future? Chris, let me start with you.
Yeah. So I always say it's solar is what people think of first with their houses, but playing good defense is also really what you should be focusing on before you consider solar. So how do you actually reduce your energy consumption? I mean, LED lighting is like one of the lowest hanging fruit things you can do in your home. It's affordable today. It's not ugly. The light bulbs look like regular light bulbs, and they don't emit that white, fluorescent light anymore. You can change them. So that's one really super simple thing you can do to start. And then appliances, energy efficient appliances. Do all those things, windows, insulation, tighten the envelope of your building is what we call it. Do all those things that reduce the amount of energy you have to consume by putting more efficient appliances in your home. Then you can look at solar, and you're gonna need much less solar. Sorry, Ben, they're gonna need smaller systems. But it's still good. And so that would be my recommendation, easy, low-hanging fruit.
Sharon?
Yeah, sure. So Duke Energy loves our business community, and we're always here to help. And if you don't know about this, I encourage you to go to duke-energy.com/business, and you can sign up for a free business energy check where it's an individualized program that looks at your business and how you can provides recommendations on how you can save energy and money. So I think that's maybe a little best kept secret, so please take advantage of that.
Ben.
Sure. For folks that have businesses that are owner-operators, I mean, most of the commercial solar we're doing now is sort of like in the 20 to 25% return, annual return. So it depending on the nature of your business, it is worth looking at now, as opposed to, like Chris was saying, I mean, we've seen such tremendous changes in 6 or 7 years. But the biggest thing that I don't wish to be controversial on is objectively and unequivocally what's holding our business and tangential businesses back is city and county bureaucratic sort of process. Nothing to do with the people, because we work with some amazing people at a number of these places, but it is absolutely suffocating, the speed at which we have to get these things out, and we're just a big own goal.
Kristine?
There's been some really good suggestions so far, and I'm going to take two, one bigger idea and then one that's very practical and a little self-serving, being from WM. But the first one, I always think it's really helpful to try to meet people where they are. I think a lot of times in sustainability or in the climate space, we feel like we have to convince someone else to think like we do. But if you really accept how they're already thinking about it, what's important to them, I think it really will help you find a win-win solution in the end. So that's kind of a bigger idea, less tangible. Secondly, one of the most easiest things we can all do today is just recycle. And I know that seems like very simple, but we do have to continue to recycle more. The amount of value that we can capture from those materials helps to reduce the benefit. I'll tell you a quick fact from WM. We capture over 15 million tons of material a year. When we look at what the potential avoided emissions from that material is once it's recycled and repurposed, it's over 2 times what our entire footprint is as North America's leading environmental solutions provider, serving over 20 million customers day in and day out, picking up trash, picking up recycling. It's more than 2 times the benefit of doing that. So that's my self-serving. Please recycle.
Bryan?
All right, thanks. I'll take a slightly different angle on this, just from a broader context, right? First thing is to pay attention and care about it, right? And stay engaged. I mean, if we're going to try and improve where we're at and improve sustainability, it's going to require engagement and all of us to work together, get pointed in the right direction, right? And so I would say that's a big piece of it. To that end, our organization, we do a lot of public outreach. Stay engaged, stay tuned with what's going on. We have public meetings. Please join us as the business community. Help us with ideas, help express your concerns so that we can help collectively improve the region.
All right, Aaron needs to grab one of your mics. Any questions in the audience right now? Let's start out with Courtney. And we'll move over to Deborah.
Good morning. This was amazing. Thank you all for being here today. So I've got one quick comment. Verizon, we put in solar panels on our parking lot here in Lake Mary, like 900 parking spots. So shout out to the Seminole County Commission if anyone's here from them, because they have done it here. I feel like we do have a good system. So if you have a business and you want to do that, like it's happening, and they're very supportive of it. And then secondly, not from a business perspective, but as a homeowner, I wanted to put solar panels on my house, and my insurance company was like, okay, well, that's going to cost you an extra like $1,500 a year on your premium, which they're already so high in Florida. And so I just want to know, what are you all doing to help with the legislative climate to, battle this? Because I feel like we're just running up against a brick wall. It's like, if you want to put this on your house, it's not incentivized at all.
Who wants to take that one? Chris on the end?
Take a stab at it. There's two good organizations that I think are lobbying for that. One is SEIA, Solar Energy Industry Association, I think, and then Sun, Solar United Neighbors, which advocates for homeowners. Try to shop your insurance. I Ben did my solar panels 4 years ago. I went through the same thing and ended up changing insurance. I was able to get for $300 more a year, a $50,000 rider on my policy that covered that equipment. Like if a tree fell on the panels, they have their own warranties and whatnot, but I wanted that damage coverage. The other thing is to look at timing is everything, right? So if you're going to be installing solar, do it when you're ready for your roof replacement if you can. A lot of the solar financing companies, including ours, provide 100% financing for the roof along with solar and storage when you do that installation. And typically, the way, if it's sized properly, if you're working with a good solar installer who knows what they're doing, you're going to see that the cost of that loan payment for solar, storage, and roof is going to be the same, if not lower, than your average electric panel bill.
And one of the things also, and Ben can touch on this if he wants, is the technology and the sturdiness has got better. I think you had 5,000 solar panels in the path of Milton and lost 5. And Duke Energy during all the hurricanes in Florida last year lost only 0.5% of all the solar panels in Florida. So the technology has gotten a lot more resilient for hurricanes, which should bring down the price of the insurance. Do y'all want to add anything else on there? Because we got time for one more from Deborah.
Thank you very much. You brought up the point of recycling, and so it's probably Chris again, but if you guys want to go in there. I have solar panels, and so my thought is, with the all advanced technology that's going on, should we have a number of years that you've had solar panels that you should say, okay, this is a red flag, I should look into recycling and getting the newer and better solar panels, and that way we can know that we're being more energy efficient as well as being able to do the recycling and doing the right thing. And you can probably touch on commercial too. It's like, yeah, after so many years residential, go and research X in order to be able to know that you should be replacing them. And so again, we can move forward in the right direction. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I think the good news is probably not, because for a couple of reasons. One, the first thing to look at is just the efficiency of your panels. How are they performing for you today? Are they offsetting all of your electricity, all of your power bill expense? If they are, then you're good, right? And panels typically have a 25-year warranty from manufacturer, so you have a long-time warranty to cover any issues that could arise with that panel set that you have. If it's not the case, if you're finding that your power bill is increasing, then the next thing to look at is what's changed. So is it that you're consuming more? Is it, what is impacting that, that cost for you? And then that's where I would also start to look at the things inside the house first, because a lot of times it's going to be less expensive for you to make those energy efficiency upgrades to do things like get appliances that are more energy efficient, refrigerator, dishwasher, all that stuff. Also look at lighting, LED lighting, improving insulation if you haven't done it. If your windows and doors are older, getting newer windows and doors. Those types of investments are going to do much more for you than upgrading to the latest and greatest solar technology. I would wait for the panels to break before I go out and spend money on upgrading to new ones.
Anything else? Any last words? Because I think we are done. Let's give these guys a nice round of applause. I'm going to welcome Rebecca back up to the stage.
Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. To learn more about the Seminole County Chamber, please visit seminolebusiness.org or check us out on our social media at Seminole County Chamber.